So not the typical way I start off my videos, but as you guys know, if I'm starting off my video in my apartment, it's going to be an unboxing or unbagging. Now this unbagging is long overdue. I actually picked up some of these baits at the end of October. Just haven't found a good time to go over them yet. In this bag here is about $250 worth of baits, so I do have quite a bit to go over today. Just like in all my other unbagging videos, I go through everything. I don't skip over anything. Everything that I bought, you guys will be able to see. I actually don't care if this video goes an hour. That's just how long it's gonna be. Now this time of the year, when it starts getting cold out in New Hampshire, fishing really starts to get tough. I'm kind of in that in-between area where the ponds are starting to freeze, but it's not nearly thick enough to ice fish. So I'm just kind of stuck not really being able to fish, or I have to travel like an hour and a half to fish. So in the meantime, this is really when I do my unboxings and my unbagging videos. Now, not everything in this bag is from Bass Pro Shops. Like 90% of it is from Bass Pro Shops, but some of it is from Walmart, some of it is from Dick's Sporting Goods. But I just kind of all threw them into one big unbagging. But I'm going to go organize these real quick just to make it easier on myself. No real particular order. We're just going to start off with some Bass Pro chatter bombs. Now this is basically Bass Pro's version of a chatterbait. Bass Pro and Z-Man kind of did a collaboration and came up with the chatter bomb. Now I really like the name chatter bomb. Actually kind of a neat name, and I got one in black and blue, one in flaming pumpkin, both 3/8 of an ounce. Now let's take one out of the package. Kind of immediately I am seeing an issue. Not a terrible issue by any means. I always can kind of change things up, but I don't know if you guys can see that, but the snap they have on this chatterbait is super thin wire. I mean, look at that thing. That thing looks like it'll bend out on a bluegill. Now, obviously I could be wrong, and this snap could work perfectly fine, but to me, that's the first thing I noticed was how thin wire this snap was. But other than that, I really liked the color, flaming pumpkin, and also the hook doesn't seem too bad either. It's pretty stout. You're not going to bend that out, at least the fish in my area. And it does kind of have a relatively realistic head, which I always like. I don't know what else to say. Now, a chatterbait is a great bait all year around. Right after ice out, you can catch fish on a chatterbait, and right before hard water, you can catch fish on a chatterbait. But I think a chatterbait really excels in cold water. Now, you can most certainly catch fish on a chatterbait in the summertime, absolutely. But I just think this bait in super cold water, I'm talking like 45 degrees to 50 degrees, I think a chatterbait will work very well. Typically on a chatterbait, I would throw a medium heavy rod, and it doesn't really matter if you want a fast action or a moderate action rod. It's kind of personal preference, I guess. Some people will say a moderate works better. Some people will say a fast action rod works better. In my opinion, it's really just preference. Whatever you like better, you should probably just use that. But picked up two of them. Picked up 2 packages of the BF Toad from NetBait. This is kind of like their collaboration with bait fuel. Supposedly these baits are injected with bait fuel. And I picked up 2 colors, white and black. The only color I'm missing is green pumpkin. Those are the only 3 colors you really need for frog fishing. In my opinion, one of the best colors you can use for a frog is just simply black. Most of the time anyway, with the sun being behind the frog, when the fish look up, they're going to see black anyway. But these are 4 inches long. And I thought these would work really well on like an 1/8 of an ounce belly weighted swim bait hook, or on the back of a buzzbait. I mean, honestly, you might even be able to trim this up a little bit and put it on the back of a chatterbait. Pretty flimsy plastic back there. So that was the white one. Here is the black one close up. Speaking of buzzbaits, it just so happens that my Bass Pro Shops just started selling Jamaica boas. And the Jamaica boa is from Megabass and it's definitely my favorite buzzbait. Particular buzzbait is 1/2 ounce and it's in their white python color. Now come this spring, this is a combination that I am definitely going to use. A white buzzbait and this white BF toad. This bait definitely has a little thicker gauge wire, and that is what I want. I definitely prefer like spinner baits and buzz baits that have the thicker gauge wire. I just think it makes the spinner bait and buzz baits last a little bit longer. Now, despite this package seeing better days, I picked up a, well, I guess I'll open it. It already opened itself. I picked up a purple shad. I already forgot the color. Lavender shad. I picked up a lavender shad spinnerbait from 6 cents. Bait is 3/8 ounce. And this is another bait that my Bass Pro Shops locally has just started selling this year. And when I noticed they started selling this spinnerbait here, I was actually pretty happy about that because the spinnerbait looks really cool and it's not very expensive. But if you guys can see this top blade here, this loop in the wire is not actually connected. So if the fish kind of jumps out of the water, it can actually fling off this blade completely. See how I just detached like that? The last spinnerbait I had, that's exactly what happened. The fish jumped out of the water and it flung that blade off. It's my only issue with this spinnerbait. Other than that, I love the colors. I love the realistic head they put on it. It's just, this top blade will sometimes fly off, and I don't appreciate that. Now, because this fall I had really good success on the robo worm, I decided to pick up another package of robo worms. This is the 4.5 inch flat tail worm, I think. Straight tail. Fat straight tail. The color is Oxblood Light Red Flake. Super natural color. I bought this bait here specifically to throw on a drop shot. This bait would certainly work on a little Ned head, but I bought it more or less for a drop shot. Now, typically my drop shot rod is a medium light with roughly 8 to 10 pound test. Actually, the robo worm that I used this fall won me the championship, and I was using that exact setup. A medium light with an 8-pound leader. What up? What up? What? So, moving on to my favorite line on the market. This is Sunline FC Sniper. I decided to pick up 14-pound line. I didn't want something too heavy like 20 and too light like 8. Somewhere in the middle for like my chatterbaits, my spinnerbaits, my Texas rigs. And although this Sunline is actually super expensive, I totally think that it's worth it. I actually leave this line on some of my reels for 2 years before it starts going bad. And I don't have breakage issues. Now, I also like Sunline Assassin, but I use Sunline Assassin for more like flipping and pitching. Now, the difference between the two lines, Sunline Assassin and Sunline Sniper, is the Sniper actually has a smaller diameter for the same pound test. So if I were to grab 14-pound Sunline Assassin, the diameter of that Assassin will be slightly bigger than the Sniper, and that is because they wanted to bump up the abrasiveness? Wanted to bump up the abrasiveness? Does that even make sense? And they just wanted to add an extra coat around that line just to give you some added protection against the logs and the rocks and like pickerel or pike teeth. So that's really the only two differences between the two. So it just kind of depends on what you're using. For finesse stuff, I would definitely go with Sniper, but like I said, if you're gonna be flipping and pitching, I would go with the Assassin. Now, I also picked up some Berkley Powerbait Power Worms. These are the 10-inch size. And I basically bought these specifically for Texas rigging in the summertime. Now don't get me wrong, these big 10-inch worms, they'll catch the big girls all year around, but I just think in the summertime on like a 1/2 ounce weight or a 3/8 ounce weight, this bait will excel. Actually, this summer towards the end of it, I caught a 6.6 pound bass on a 10-inch worm in about 15 feet of water with a 3/8 ounce tungsten weight, and I was just dragging it along the bottom. Now this color is called Tequila Sunrise. I had to pick up this color, one of my favorites. Then I also picked up June Bug. Now this June Bug doesn't really look that purple out of the water. It looks a little bit more brown in color, a little bit more maroon brownish, but still a super dope color. Moving on to some jig heads. Now these are tungsten jig heads from Northland Tackle. I got black, and then this color over here is Sunrise, and the Sunrise is 1/4 ounce, the black is 3/8 ounce. And I picked these up for a couple of reasons. One, lead is illegal in New Hampshire under an ounce, so there's that. And two, usually with tungsten jig heads, you really don't have any eyes with the tungsten jigs. With the tungsten jigs, it's usually just plain, just painted. But with the Northland Tackle, they added some eyes, so I thought that was kind of neat. So I picked up a couple packages. Now a bait that I would throw on this is just like a 3-inch swim bait, and it doesn't even really matter what brand. Personally, I really like a Kitech Easy Shiner, but you can go with like a net bait Big Spanky. That'll work too. Alright, so moving on to what I actually started out bass fishing with. I used nothing but an inline spinner for like 2 straight years. And I basically have nothing but good things to say about an inline spinner. Now my favorite inline spinner is a Blue Fox with a silver blade and blue body. I've caught multiple 6-pound largemouth on inline spinners, multiple 5s. And I've actually had a 30 fish day throwing nothing but an inline spinner. Now I'm not saying 30 fish is a ton of fish by any means, but for me, 30 fish in one day is pretty good. Now neither of these baits have a color name. They just say Northern Lights on the bottom of them, but when I saw these at Bass Pro Shops, I had to pick them up. These are colors I've never seen before, and whether I'm fishing for bass or pike or something like that, these colors I feel like will always work for me. Alright, got the new battery and we should be good to go now. So, moving on to my favorite soft plastics on the market right now, and that is the Berkley Maxscent. I just think this soft plastic genuinely works better than the others. Now obviously that's just my personal opinion and I could be completely wrong, but I just think there is something about this Maxscent that the fish really do like. Now as you guys know, one of my favorite baits of all time is the Berkley Maxscent flatworm. Now I picked up this in 4 1/4 in the smelt color. I'm gonna try to give you guys a good angle just because I don't want to take these out of the package because they do stink. But this is kind of like a gray on top, pearl on bottom, and they make 2 sizes in the flatworm, the 3.6 and the 4 1/4, and I vastly prefer the 4 1/4. I use it on a drop shot, a Ned rig. You can even use it as a jig trailer if you want to, a finesse jig. But moving on to my favorite Senko style bait on the market, and that is the Maxscent General. Now I picked up 3 different colors. I got black, black and blue, and then I also got a baby bass color. Did not mean to pick up the baby bass color, I just meant to pick up all black. But I guess this was just kind of mixed in with the black worms. Not going to be taking these out of the package because I don't want to stink. But actually black I think is a super underrated color for a soft plastic. A lot of people will go with green pumpkin or like a chartreuse color, something like that. But I just think straight black is one of the best colors you can use. Now the way I use a General most of the time is a wacky worm. And like 90% of the time I'm throwing a wacky worm on a medium powered spinning rod with like 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon. I like to beef up my line when I'm using a wacky worm only because I have caught a 7-pounder. The last thing you want to do is let that 7-pounder dig itself into weeds. Now another way that I use a general quite often is a jig worm. Now a jig worm isn't very complicated, it's actually pretty simple. All it is a full-size general on like a little 1/8 or 1/6 or 1/5 or even 1/4 of an ounce Ned head. So when this bait sinks all the way down to the bottom, this full-size Senko is standing straight up in the air. It's not like a shaky head, where the shaky head is just going to be laying horizontally in the water. With the jig worm, it's going to be vertical. And up north, you've definitely probably heard about the jig worm. It's very common up here, but the jig worm is also a very good cold water bait. This time of the year, when the water temps are in the low 40s, sometimes even the high 30s, a jig worm, a jerk bait, a chatterbait, if you can still find grass, work very well. Now, although it is winter time, you will still be able to find small pockets of live weeds. And that's where you kind of want to concentrate your efforts this time of the year, just because those green live plants will give off oxygen, whereas the dead plants are basically absorbing that oxygen. So just a tip, not that I'm the best winter fisherman anyway. Alright, so everything that I've gone over so far was from Bass Pro Shops. Now we're getting into my Walmart haul, and we're going to be starting out with one of my favorite trailers. I bought a bunch of Rage Craws in black and blue, only because at Walmart they sell them $1 cheaper than Bass Pro does. Now this year alone, I must have gone through half a dozen black and blue Rage Craws. So I had to restock. It's one of my favorite trailers. I'll even throw a Rage Craw on the back of a jig trailer in like 45-degree water. Now, although I did say this was my favorite jig trailer, I have thrown this on a Texas rig with a 3/8 bullet weight on the front of it, and I've caught fish that way. Now, sticking with that Walmart haul, I got 3 packages of Gary Yamamoto's. These are the 5-inch Senkos in the pumpkin with black and green fleck. So we went over the Bass Pro unbagging, went over what I got from Walmart. Now this is what I got from Dick's Sporting Goods. Not a whole lot, only a couple things. Let's first start out with the swim baits. Now I absolutely love Kitex, but I do kind of want to expand my horizons, so I also bought a Rage swimmer to try. But there is just something about the action of this bait underneath the water. And this Kitex is in table rock, which basically is purple on top, kind of chartreusey on the bottom, and then the typical black and blue. Nothing too fancy. These baits here I plan on throwing on a ball head or even on the back of a chatterbait. In cold water, I actually really like throwing a boot tail like this on the back of a chatterbait because it actually kind of works against the vibration of the chatterbait, kind of slowing it down a little bit. Because if you just kind of have like a do nothing bait on the back of a chatterbait, that vibration will really kind of kick that trailer around. But when you kind of have like a boot tail swim bait on the back of a chatterbait, it does kind of slow that chatterbait down a little bit. And then full disclosure, I did pick up 2 jigs. The other one was 3/8 of an ounce in black and blue, but I already used it and got it snagged within about 5 minutes. This one is 1/2 of an ounce and it's in Tennessee Craw color. I mentioned earlier in the video, lead is illegal, so this jig is tungsten. And it smells like coffee. That's weird. Now, that is it for the unbagging portion of this video. Now, something that I do in a lot of my unbagging videos, not all of them, but most of them, I do a giveaway. And it's not really just any giveaway, it's a giveaway of a limited edition megabass lure. This unbagging is no different. Now, I don't really announce these giveaways or tell anyone when they're going to be in the video, and that is on purpose. It's really because I want the people who watch my full video, my actual subscribers, to get a chance to win these first. I throw in limited edition giveaway in the title. I'm going to have a lot of people coming to that video who really aren't subscribed, they're just coming to win the giveaway. But without further ado, let's see if we can get a good angle here without a reflection. I picked up 2 Vision 110s and a Pop X in the color GG Moss Ore. Now I am going to be giving away one of the Vision 110s. I'm going to be using the other one, and I'm actually going to be putting the Pop X on my wall. So we're definitely not going to be opening the Pop X, but I'll do my best to kind of give you guys a good angle. Now, the GG in GG Moss Ore stands for Ghost Guanine, I believe. And what that is kind of like that shiny, reflective stuff you see on the sides of this bait. Megabass spent years researching bait fish, little minnows in the water, trying to replicate the reflection of scales underneath the water, and this is what they came up with after years of research. And basically it's just kind of like a green on top, silver side, and then an orange belly. So one of these Vision 110s I'm giving away, and the other one I am going to be using. I am going to be hanging it up on my wall until I use it. But because I do plan on using it, why not just open it up right now? Oh yeah. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Now you can really see that GG in effect. It's like that rainbow scaling on the side. Kind of got that clear olive to orange on the belly. Super cool bait, in my opinion. Vision 110 is by far, not really even close, my favorite jerkbait. Now, Vision 110s are half of an ounce. They're, just like the name implies, 110 millimeters long. And they dive down to 6 feet. Now, 6 feet is being a little generous. It doesn't really actually dive down to that 6 feet range unless you use 8-pound or less line. Now, I've used jerkbaits with line as high as 20-pound, and I've used jerkbaits with as low as 6-pound. And with those different line sizes, you are going to get different actions with the bait. With that 20-pound fluorocarbon, if you were to use that with this Vision 110, you're maybe only getting down 3 feet. If you use 6-pound line, then you will get all the way down to that 6 foot range. And I did say this bait is half an ounce, and that's true. It does weigh half of an ounce, but this bait also has a weight transfer system in it, which really allows you to cast it pretty dang close to a 3/4 of an ounce jerkbait. A lot of the time you'll get jerkbaits without a weight transfer system, and they'll kind of knuckleball through the water when there's high wind. This bait, with that weight transfer system, it eliminates that. So you can cast this against the wind just fine. Now, the hooks are very light wire, and that is on purpose, because like I said earlier, you're only going to get this bait down to that 6 foot range if you use 8-pound line, and that's exactly what Megabass wants you to use with their jerkbaits. They don't want you to use 15, 16-pound fluorocarbon, and with that 8-pound line, when you set your drag accordingly, you're not going to be bending these hooks out. I've caught a 3-pound smallie with one of these hooks before. Not one treble hook, but one hook on one treble hook. I caught a 3-pound smallie on it. And all you have to do is have your drag set up right, and you're not going to bend out any of these hooks. Now, if you set the hook on like 20-pound fluorocarbon, like you're frog fishing, you will bend these hooks out on like a 2-pounder. But if you got the right rod power, the right line, the right drag, you should have no issues with these hooks. This is the one I'm gonna be giving away, and This is the one I'm going to be putting back in the box and hanging up on my wall. Now, to be entered in my giveaway is super simple. All you have to be is subscribed and comment down below. And in 1 week or maybe 2 weeks, I will randomly go through the comment section and I will pick a winner. Now, that being said, I'm going to announce the winner in my next unbagging video. But if you do want to be part of this giveaway, just make sure you tune into my next unbagging video because that's when I'm going to be announcing the winner. That being said, sometime in the future, I have another limited edition bait I'm going to give away, and that one might be the coolest one yet. I've done, I believe, 8 or 9 limited edition giveaways, but that is it. So not too much for $250. But some of these baits that I unbox, I'm not even going to be using them until next year. And also, I also bought myself a couple Christmas presents, which I'm also going to be sharing with you guys in a later video. So stay tuned for that as well. Just to kind of spoil it a little bit, I did pick up rods and a reel. But the reel I picked up, I think, is super cool. I've never seen anything like it, and when I saw it for sale, I had to jump on it. And I'm pretty excited to share that with you guys. But just to reiterate, if you want to be part of this giveaway, all you have to be is subscribed and comment down below. And in about 2 weeks, I will pick a winner that next unbagging video. So if you want to be part of the giveaway, you have to watch my next unbagging. And I only say that because the last giveaway I did, the first 2 people who won never hit me up, so they never actually won the limited edition bait. It wasn't until I was like, first person to hit me up on Instagram gets this bait. Then I finally got people hitting me up to get the bait. Alright, so I think that's it for the unbagging today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Peace.